Yeah, so astrologically, in practice, at the moment, there is a lot going on with Mars, and Mars is making a difficult aspect to Pluto. And that's been building up all over the last week, and you can see that in terms of there's all these tensions that have been building up, which is really the dredging up of old memories, of old traumas that aren't really resolved, and those being expressed, those coming up in the outside environment. So how do I mean the outside environment? Mars being masculine, masculine being outside environment, and use of force kind of idea. Militaristic sort of a Mars thing. But in my last week, there's a lot of stuff about a battle in a bog. There's a lot of like slagging off going on in comments. There's a lot of people attacking people over like you. There's a lot of like, I was awake before you were. There's a lot of like, you're not as awake as I am. There's a lot of this falling out amongst people in the truth movement, in the nationalist movement, and I presume is going on the left as much as the right. You know, you've got these people chasing, blah, blah, there's loads of examples of it. The other thing that's going on then is like a feeling of weeping, of real sadness. So that stuff was building up until this morning, and then this morning it reached its peak, and now there's perhaps a chance of it being less extreme. But what is coming up in this week is a relationship between Venus and Saturn. So Saturn is constricting. Oh yeah, the thing about like Mars and Pluto, well, Mars is all this outer stuff and the violence and the like expressing stuff, and Pluto is like the deep stuff, the stuff that's deep wounding, and those wounds get covered up. We call it like recovering from an injury. But like that's actually just covering the injury over again. That's not actually healing an injury, that's just a recovery. Like the recovery program from addiction, it's just like stopping the addiction. It's not really necessarily dealing with like, why did I start to get addicted in the first place? It's often replacing this kind of addiction with another kind of addiction, kind of thing. Anyway, so there's also Venus and Saturn. They're also making an aspect. And the Venus is like the structure, but it can also be constriction. Basically, what's coming up for people is like feeling really sad and feeling like the masculine is suppressing the feminine, basically. So it's the mind is suppressing the feelings, and there's going to be a lot of this coming up in this week coming. And that's why it's worthwhile learning what the symbols in the language of astrology actually mean, because those symbols do exist in the physical sky, and the correlation between what's going on in the sky telling a story and that story being acted out here amongst us on collective levels in the mundane astrology of what's going